everyone. Happy Friday. Can you see me and hear me okay? That's one of the things I always notice is delay. Someone want to give me a 5x5 in the chat before we get going here? Awesome. Thank you, Sassy Gal. Thank you, Apartment Prepper. So we are waiting on Prepper Now to go ahead and join us. He is just a little bit behind, I believe, right now. He's probably getting his situated. Yeah. So good to see all of you guys here tonight. I'm just going to go ahead and greet some of you while we are waiting. So I see Uncle Al is in here. Good to see you, Uncle Al. Good to see you, Karen. Thank you for being here, Sassy Gal and Apartment Prepper, my mods. I see
Rapture Ready, how are you?
Yeah, Rapture Ready's in there. Who else am I missing? You see anybody else? I see Mimi the multitasker in here. Good to see you. NG Plus is in the chat. Hi there. And hello, Rita Hunter. Good to see you guys. Did I miss Jason? Oh, there's Jason. Hi, Jason. I don't know if I missed anybody else. So we will just go ahead and, I guess, get started a little bit in here while we wait for Prepper Now. So I have Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival joining me tonight. And
Hi,
then
everybody.
I'm going to have Prepper Now soon. And I'm going to have him introduce himself in just a minute. I just want to get some housekeeping kind of things out of the way. So just so everybody is aware, I am fine with you guys having differing opinions or views. Just please make sure that you do it in a respectful manner. I don't want any name calling or bullying or anything like that. So I will give you one opportunity to redeem yourselves. But if that continues to happen, then I'll have to have one of my mods give you guys the boot. And then also I'm going to be opening this up for some Q&A at the end. That's kind of how I've been structuring these. So when I do open that, just go ahead and feel free to put a question in all caps so that I can see it. And so without further ado, Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival, would you please take a moment to introduce yourself to those that may not know who you are?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike. I'm from Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival. I'm here in upstate New York trying to build a prepping and survival community up here. The more people I can gather, I feel the better that our chances will be if things fall apart. So that's kind of my angle. I was a patriot before I was a prepper. And I'm really looking forward to this chat here with you guys tonight.
Me too. Me too. Mr. Prepper Now, you need to get on here, buddy.
I can't wait to hear his opinion on everything over the last 2 days. I've been sneaking into his streams whenever I can. I'm super busy with work, but I always try to catch something at lunch or break or whenever I can. Even in the car, I've been listening to the car. So
yes.
There's just so much to keep up with nowadays. So much. It's incredible.
It is incredible. And I think we're all kind of overwhelmed with a lot of it because there is so much every single day. But you guys, if you're not subscribed to both of these channels, then you're really missing out. They're two very well-respected members of the prepping community, and they have a lot of knowledge to share with us. So if you could please go over and check their channels out. I know my mods are going to be dropping the links.
Well, thank you, Apartment Prepper. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess we're going to just go ahead and dive in here, and then hopefully Prepper Now will join us momentarily. So there has been quite a bit of gun legislation that's passed right now, and we're going to be talking about all of it, even the things that won't be passed right now, but are most likely going to continue to be brought up in future bills. So before we get into that, though, I want to acknowledge the legislation that was passed by the Supreme Court yesterday, reinforcing that Americans do have the right to carry firearms in public places for self-defense. So I wanted to ask you, while we see this as a victory, and I do view it as a victory, my question is, do you believe that this is going to be more of a temporary victory and that the states with may issue or no issue laws will kind of push back against this?
So our governor here, Governor-select Kathy Hochul, she took over when Andrew Cuomo stepped back. So She has decided that she's going to call the legislator back to fight the decision that the Supreme Court made.
Hmm.
I think there's going to be a lot of pushback from the blue states. I think they're going to try to upend this decision in any way that they can, and it's scary. It's scary right now because they're kind of like the wounded animal, so to speak.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm afraid they're really going to lash out.
Yes. I mean, that's kind of been my concern too. It's like I don't want to be a cynic, but in light of the recent legislation that Joe's about to sign off on, I think a lot of us have doubts. And I feel like these states are going to do what they can. They're going to put roadblocks in the way, whether that's increased fees, extra classes, written and hands on exams with more fees, mental assessments. I think they're going to definitely try that one. Just anything they can do to kind of deter people from being able to, utilize these rights that we have. So that's my concern.
Yeah, they're definitely going to chip away at and any angle they can get on it. I see that the Biden administration is looking to do an end around kind of on ammunition.
Yes.
So they know that they can't ban the weapons because the Supreme Court wouldn't allow it, but there's nothing in the Second Amendment clause about ammunition. So now they're looking to shut down production facilities that the government owns.
Yes, and from what I understand, they're going after the green tip, right? The 5.56
Yeah,
and 223 is what they're starting. But is that kind of like, in your opinion, a jumping off point, and they will just kind of continue
I
to
think
head
so.
in that direction?
I think so. I think it's the very first step for them in this is to handle what they have control over directly.
Mm-hmm.
So they hold the contract for that place, and if you did, like I said, if you don't if you don't have the ammo, the gun's really no good. So
Right,
they'll,
exactly.
they'll chip away at it. That's like 30 potentially to 40% of the stock that's out there right now is made by this particular company. So that's really, really bad.
Yeah, that's a very large percentage, and we should definitely be paying attention to that. I mean, and then the other concern that I had, like you said, it's just a jumping off point. So I think that we kind of know how Biden feels about 9 mils. So I kind of think they'll start going after that next once they
I
get what
agree.
they want with this. Um, so I guess let's just start off with what we know has essentially just passed. So one of the things that they just passed was laws to toughen background checks for the youngest firearms buyers. So what do you kind of think about that?
Uh, what do they call it? An enhanced background check. They used to hold your paperwork for 3 days when you filed. What do they call that thing? The form you fill out when you buy a gun.
Mm-hmm.
They used to be able to hold it for 3 days, but they found that that was unconstitutional to hold it for 3 days, and it was on the federal government to act faster. So they essentially um, cut that down so that it was like 20 minutes. If they didn't answer you in 20 minutes, you could sell the firearm to the individual. And they believed that the 20 minutes wasn't an infringement. Now they're looking to stop, 3 days on some of these. That's definitely going to cross the infringement line. I think legally challenged, it'll probably be struck down, but for now, they're going to make it law.
Right. I had a lot of questions about that just from a standpoint of, them essentially it feels like age discrimination on
It does.
these younger ones, and you would think that they would be able to kind of fight it just from that stance as well. Um, and one of the points that I wanted to make right here is according to the FBI, right, they're saying that younger firearms owners are responsible for nearly 50% of all gun homicides. That's something that they throw out there. And that one of the reasons that they keep pushing for this is they say that people under the age of 25 are, look, there's Prepper Now. Hi, Prepper Now.
What's going on?
What's happening, brother? How are you?
I'm
Mr.
good. My
Late.
wife, my wife would not leave.
She would not leave.
I gave her a free trip to Target too, and she's like, I don't know. I just kind of want to stay here and I don't know. 14 years I've known her. 14. She's never turned down a trip to Target.
I do love going to Target too. So.
Oh my gosh. She just she's like, should I do it tomorrow? I'm like, go now. Just
Oh,
go.
please.
So yeah, because this is a freebie for me. Because if I inform her that I'm like going live stream, then I have to like do stuff for the kids. And I was like, if she goes and it times well, then I get to
Nobody's
live
gonna
stream.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Don't worry, my 10-year-old will rat me out at about 10:30. So
Tricky.
anyway, so what's going on?
We had just kind of jumped into this a little bit. We were talking about, right now we're talking about laws to toughen the background checks for the youngest firearms buyers and kind of what your thoughts are around that issue.
I mean, they've already got so much stuff going on or whatever. I mean, it sucks. It's a catch-22 because when you think about it on the off the top, you're like, oh, it's no big deal.
Right.
But the way they are is it just, you give them like a millimeter and they'll just keep taking more. And so you're like, okay, well now they're gonna ask that everybody gets that. And then you know what I mean? They'll turn it into whatever they want because we all know that the ultimate goal is to basically take away all the weapons. Let's be honest.
Right. Or render them useless with no
Or
ammunition.
render them useless or do whatever they can with, the technology, the insurance thing, whether you have to get, some exorbitant amount of insurance that nobody can pay for. Just they're going to do whatever they can to basically take people's weapons away. And so thankfully, most people in this culture know that that's what happens. And when you do that, as a history teacher, I can tell you, usually bad things don't, are like seem to ensue. And so, yeah, I mean, does it sound like it's a big deal? No, but they're gonna take it and keep going and just by death by 1,000 cuts, just keep eroding the right. And so, with that, I just say at some point you got to say, you know what, enough's enough. Would it really? I mean, let's be honest. Would it have stopped anything that would have happened as of late? I
No.
really don't think so.
No.
So what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to hinder law-abiding citizens? Or are we trying to stop these horrific events? And they're horrible. But I mean, when you look at them, if people had the same kind of care to stop fentanyl overdoses or to stop medical malpractice and malfeasance and stuff, you might actually put a dent in the keeping people alive kind of thing. But this is all the focus, and it's what the media wants because again, the ultimate scheme or goal is just to take them away.
Right. So what I was kind of sharing before you came on is that according to the FBI, they're saying that the younger firearms owners are responsible for nearly 50% of all the gun homicides. And then one of their reasoning for going after the younger ones is they say that people under 25 are dangerous with guns. That the scientific literature over the past 2 decades has demonstrated repeatedly that the brain does not fully mature until the mid to late 20s. And they're saying last to mature is that prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for making intelligent, long-term decisions, weighing the risks and benefits, and for controlling impulses. And for me, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I feel like it's kind of ironic that young people's brains aren't developed enough to make these intelligent long-term decisions. And if that's their argument, why then do they continue to target children who are significantly younger than this age threshold to change their sex, to essentially dismember and disfigure their bodies? And they've clearly laid out the case that they do not have the appropriate rationale developed yet. So those life-altering decisions are okay, but possessing a firearm is suddenly a problem.
Mike, you want to take it?
That's interesting because I think that if you're 18 years old and you can pick up a rifle and go die for your country, you damn sure should be able to buy one when you come home.
Yes, I agree with that too.
I think it's, they're mutilating people's genitals at youth because they've made a decision, but then they say in the same breath that you're not mature enough to own a firearm. It's a double-edged sword, and I think we need to let them cut themselves with it.
Right, and they want to reduce the age for voting, right? That's okay. Yeah. We'll do that too.
Yeah, as long as it benefits them, it's fine. But if it benefits us, we can't have that.
Right.
Well, that's spot on. I mean, what you just said exactly right there is literally cuts to the chase. As long as it benefits them, it's cool. If not, no, not happening. And we can sit there and there's parents right now with their kids at the age of like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old saying, well, little Jimmy thinks he's Janie, let's work with that. And then, putting them on pharmaceuticals and stuff, it's just abject hypocrisy.
Mhm.
At what point you either, just say, okay, at 18, from there on, you're kind of on your own. And sure, 18 to 25-year-olds aren't as adept or experienced as, say, someone like me, or you. I don't know how you all are, but you seem to be a little older than 21 years old.
Much.
And so,
Just slightly, just slightly.
but Mike, I mean, what you said there was absolutely spot on. If it helps them and stops us or hinders us, then that's the go-to. And
Yeah, they're all for that.
yeah, and so it's hypocrisy, and so that's why I cannot live in a hypocritical world.
Yeah,
I
sucks.
see that I'm too logical. I can't. I can make those points and be like, holy crap, I see the hypocrisy in that, and then when they go with it, it's just something about it just like sends this like nerve in me that I just can't
They-
do it.
They're trying to drive all logical people crazy.
Well, they're doing
You
it.
know, they really want to scramble everybody's brain so that you really don't know which way is up.
Oh my
And
god.
when this SHTF tsunami slaps us upside the head, we're all going to be too disoriented from all the bullshit that they've been feeding us
Correct.
to even be able to manage it.
Like
It sucks, and
yeah.
I see the sucker punch coming, but I know I'm not going to be able to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baffled by BS. It's absolute truth. Keep us all on our back heels and keep throwing crap at us from every different way. And then, Kansas City shuffles, as I like to say, where you're looking at the right hand and then they pop you in the mouth with the left. So,
Yep.
Agreed. Awesome. Okay, so one of the other laws that they just passed, right, is to require more sellers to conduct background checks and then beef up the penalties on gun traffickers. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that one? Is that even possible? I mean, because
well, again,
Go
all
ahead
right.
now. Go ahead now.
Okay. It's the hypocrisy thing again.
yes,
Think about it. Like if they want to take the state and use it to go after people that are politically against them, then they're going to use the full weight of the state. If it's someone that is on their team and is, whatever, then they're going to, treat them with kid gloves. And so, the problem is that our law and our, just all of it is not equal anymore. There's a difference between equality and equity. And equality means that we're all equal. If you're Jeff Bezos and you get caught, drunk driving, or say, Pelosi's husband, then you get the same treatment as I would or any of you would, But the problem is, as you've seen with the Pelosi case, there isn't that equality. And so, they always scream about equity and all this kind of crap, but the fact is that our justice system does not have the same down the nose, like, judges should be allowed to do and judge and rate each thing as it is. But what happens is all these political deals happen in the background, and it's all about politics. And so, I don't know. It's hypocrisy again.
right.
Agree.
I mean, one of my concerns, I know that Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival, you probably have that there in New York too. In Colorado, we have that NICS, which is essentially that government database to track who's making purchases, in my opinion.
So that's all firearms nationwide, coast to
Yeah,
coast.
that's
You have to take a NICS check. They're literally rewriting old shit and trying to say that they did
Correct.
something.
Correct.
It's a freaking joke. It's a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got all the laws on the books already. They've got every single.
Just enforce the laws that are there, and
Exactly.
this isn't a problem. This isn't a problem. But like Now said, different laws for them than there are for us.
Yeah.
Right. And, I kind of feel like they're using that. They may not know exactly how much we have, but they kind of have a rough estimate just based on how many times your background check has been conducted, right? I mean, they kind of have an idea.
There was actually an FBI agent who testified under oath that the NICS system is a backdoor gun registry.
Well, it's got to be.
Oh, it totally is.
Yeah, they're not deleting those records. As soon as they call in your name and number, they put in a little file somewhere with your name on it, and they have a backdoor gun registry. I guarantee it.
Utah Data Center. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, and kind of going back to that hypocrisy thing that you were just talking about, I keep wondering how they're going to beef up penalties on gun traffickers and they can't even control our border. and they want to perform more background checks on US citizens. But where's the background checks on all these people that are entering our country right now by the droves?
They funnel guns themselves. The United States federal government is the biggest gun trafficker in the world, hands down. Hands down. We've seen it in Fast and Furious, and there's so many other times they haven't been caught. These trunk loads of fully automatic weapons don't fall out of the sky into the streets of Chicago or New York City or Baltimore. They are put there by somebody who wants them to be used to do harm. That's my opinion.
Excellent opinion.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I think when I was debating all this, I think they said there was like 350 to 400 million guns in the country, and I mean, I think that's actually low. So at this point, yeah, go ahead.
The figure that we looked up the other night on a live stream was that there is 120 firearms for every 100 people in the United States of America.
I believe that.
So we've got extras to hand out.
Good. The other thing I kind of wanted to mention is that I feel like I don't know what good these background checks are really doing aside from keeping honest people honest, right? And I don't think that most criminals are going to be stupid enough to go purchase a gun through correct legal channels, knowing full well that that background check is going to come back flagged. They're going to continue to do what they do and go through underground channels and back doors to get what they need, right?
Correct.
Yeah, criminals are going to criminal. They're not going to, if you're a criminal, you're not going to go through the proper channels and do things in a legal way. You're going to go around. And this was actually the big thing. When I went into my political science degree, I was very liberal. I was against guns. And then I started to look at everything and read actual books and get FBI data. And when you look at it, it's very quickly clear to see. This is why you'll never see this on, the mouth breathing political pundit shows and stuff, is that criminals will not follow any laws. You can put every law on the book. If they're a criminal and they want to commit a crime, they will do whatever they can to do it. And it doesn't matter what you have there. They're going to get the gun. They're going to find it, especially when you think of 120 guns for every 100 people. They're going to find it. And so you can't stop it. All you're going to do is hinder people like us, which are law-abiding, good people, promise. And, I just want something to protect my family at home. That's it. I'm not
I think most of us do.
I'm not like a big Second Amendment guy. I really just kind of, as of late, got into it. And it's more honestly because I teach American government. And so, I got into it and started to read about it. And of course, a lot of questions, and it's fundamental right. It's just, I think everybody should have the right to protect themselves in the home. I really do. I live in a state that, and I'm sure maybe Mike does too. There's no castle law here in Maryland. And so if someone comes in, I literally I've had to study like ways to go and to carry myself if someone were to come in and put my family in harm's way. And like one of the things is, if I'm going to shoot, I have to try to put them down and to never get back up. If I
and you probably can't come at them from the back either.
No,
right?
no. It's got to be from the front. I've got to have my back against the wall.
Yeah.
And
you have to be cornered.
Yeah, you have to be cornered. And the person that comes at you basically have to unload the clip, because all the legal cases and stuff have all litigated it 6 ways to Sunday. And the only way for a state where you don't have a castle law is to be back against the wall, cornered, and there's no other option. And you have to kill them because you think your life is in danger. And even then, it's like you really need a good lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. If you use your weapon in self-defense in New York State, you're going to jail, hands down.
I'm sure Maryland is basically the same thing.
You're going to jail.
Yeah.
We can only match the level of force being brought against us. So if you come at me with a baseball bat, I can't pull a gun on you. I mean, it's crazy the way that they write and apply these laws in these liberal states. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Absolutely.
Mind-boggling now. It's mind-boggling. I don't know how they do it.
Well, it's all done for political points. They're not doing it because they actually care about the citizens. They're not doing it because they think, oh, well, we can save a life, or we can make it so you're secure in your home, or we can do something so it's legal and lawful. It's just so they can go out onto a soapbox and scream into a microphone how, you know, politically correct they are and virtue signal. So they
Yeah,
can
see how many votes they can get.
score the next election cycle. Absolutely.
Right.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
So, one of the other things that came up with this legislation that is essentially passed, I'm saying essentially passed because it's waiting on Joe's signature, right? So, it's sitting on his desk. So, they're also saying that they're going to disperse money to states and communities aimed at improving school safety and mental health initiatives. So, do you think that this is even a remote possibility that this is going to work?
No, not a chance.
No.
I agree too. I mean, my question with it is that I feel like they're focused more on the mental health side of things than really trying to reinforce our schools and protect our schools in any way. So, are they even planning on providing more resource officers, or is this all going to just be focused on mental health? I know that here in my school district, they've actually removed all of the resource officers from the premise because they say that many people have negative feelings about police. And I feel like that these people can just go ahead and pull their children from the school district then because I want them there, you know? Um, and then the other aspect that I wanted to touch on is I know it's kind of been a hot button issue for some reason is this notion that these instances of gun violence are taking place all because of mental illness. And I feel like that is something that's kind of being pushed onto us by the left. And people need to understand why that is. And I think it's because they've suddenly decided that every instance of gun violence is committed by the mentally ill. And they're doing that to kind of box us in with these red flag laws, which, you know, they just went ahead and passed in here as well. And that's a really big problem in my book because all these red flag laws do is allow them to state that you're mentally unfit and then they strip away your rights and you can't own any firearms. And my husband actually works with someone that had that happen to his father. His ex-girlfriend decided to call the police and say that he was violent, and they came into his home and removed everything that they found. And notice I said that they found. So really all it takes is an ex with a vendetta, a neighbor with a grudge, someone you work with that, you know, is seeking revenge. And then they can come into your home and unlawfully remove everything you have and make it impossible for you to get it back. And there's no jury, there's no mental fitness test proving your innocence. It's just someone's word against yours. And then you're suddenly left with nothing. So what are your guys' thoughts on these red flag laws?
I think just like you said, they're nothing but trouble. They're nothing but trouble, and you're going to see a lot of scorned ex-girlfriends and ex-boyfriends throwing people under the bus, and I think it's going to cost lives. I really do. I really do. It's sad, but it's going to cost lives. You know, how do we fix this, guys? How do we turn this around? You know, is there a way for us to turn this around? It just boggles. It's the things that keep me awake at night is
No,
how do we get back from where we are?
I agree. I mean, that has been something that I've been thinking about too. It's like how do we begin to fix this? I mean, I think one of the things we need to do is just, you know, stay on our representatives and our governors and, you know, I mean, but you can only take that so far too. And are they even really listening? So it's just Prepper now, you got any ideas on kind of what we can do there?
You know, when you talk about red flag laws, first of all, those are unconstitutional because they 86 your right to due process, which is codified. I want to say, I forget I used to be able to. I love it when I can do, chapter and verse in the Constitution, but I want to say Article 1, Section something or whatever. But I'm pretty sure it is Article 1 because it's the legislative branch. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The due process of law is codified into the Constitution. So red flag laws are unconstitutional. So what will happen is what they always do is they'll put it in there in some kind of by proxy way. And then eventually someone like this, Bruin case today will eventually down the road challenge it and it'll go up to the Supreme Court, but it'll take many years to get there. In the meantime, the red flag laws will exist. And then, like your friend or the person will get, called out and they'll come in and they'll take their weapons and they won't get the due process that they're supposed to get. And so, all of this could be, what they really should be. I think what you've brought up is a good point. Is that they keep focusing on the mental health aspect of things, and if you really wanted to stop all this crap from happening, specifically in places like schools, and I know a thing or two about this because it's where I work, is to make it so the resource officers have, first of all, let's start with the resource officers real quick. They make it so every response they have, especially in the more blue states like here, that they have to do very specific things to respond, kind of like the castle law thing. So even then, the officer feels hindered to respond. The other thing is that you could, and I know many staff members, that if you were like, you know what, hey, we want to train 4 people to go through a course that the district will pay for, and we're going to put a lockbox safe in your closet. And should anything ever happen, you would be a first responder, and you would have like this box in your closet where you've got a plate carrier and you've got a proper weapon that is stored properly, and you go out, and if something happens, you get it, and you are part of the response team. If that were to happen in Texas, that guy would have gone nowhere. And if you look at the response in Texas, that guy should have gone anywhere anyway. I mean, he should have never did what he did. And so when you're sitting here going, "Oh, it's mental health, it's mental health,"
yeah, I'm tired of that one. It is BS. It's absolute BS.
It was an utter failure of the law enforcement. I hate to break that to you, and I'm not Mr. Thin Blue Line or anything, but I'm also not Mr. Anti Thin Blue Line. Every case is every case. I have respect for our law enforcement officers if they do things the way they're supposed to do, constitutionally, legally, and protective. And those people in that school did not do it. They totally dropped the ball. And so, I mean, if I lost my child in that, I would be livid. And if I were one of the officers that didn't respond, I literally be like, okay, I got to sell my house and move. I can never live in this town again.
Because he should never be able to live with himself again. I mean, that's the reality.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly think there should be criminal negligence.
I agree.
Yeah, when you strap on that shield and that weapon, listen, I know the courts have ruled that they have no duty to protect you, that their gun is for their protection, but
correct.
Let's face it, the cops are our last line of defense, and then it falls on us. And if they're not there, we got to be able to do it. But these people that they hire, they've got to go under some kind of courage fucking evaluation. Are you really built for this? It takes a set of brass balls to run towards the sound of gunfire. And a lot of people aren't cut of it. And some people just want to be a cop because they want to be a cop. Sure. Other people do it because they want to save people. They want to protect people. And I think they need to fucking start weeding these guys out. You want evaluations? Let's start there.
Excellent.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure have you guys seen the picture of them all standing in the hallway?
Yeah, they've got riot shields and rifles and plate carriers.
Right there. And they didn't even check the door.
They stood there for over an hour. They stood there for over an hour while people bled out on the fucking floor. There is no excuse. None.
Yeah, and it's not like the guy in there was a freaking commando or a predator or something. I mean, he was a 17-year or whatever how old he was. I mean, I'm sure he had no
rabid
training
dog.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they could have taken that shield in and literally ended the whole thing in about 90 seconds. And they didn't.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
It is disgusting. And there is no excuse other than their sorry excuses for humanity, in my opinion.
Amen.
Well, the other thing is that now it gives a stain on just law enforcement in general.
It does, big time.
I mean, you can't do a broad brush on everything like all police officers are good or all police officers are bad or whatever. People are people.
Because they're people.
Of course. I mean, I've got, our school resource officer is my friend, and we eat lunch together every day. And, he's a good dude. And I know that he would respond. I've seen him respond to things, thankfully nothing like an active shooter, but the majority of law enforcement are good people that are there that, aren't just like, some of them are doing it for a pension or whatever, but, they do what they have to do. But this is a total stain on law enforcement, and it fractures that trust that we have for them in these critical situations. And so now that, tags onto this. And it's, I think Mike brought up a good point about weeding them out before, doing things where instead of making us jump all through all these hoops and everything, which, you can I don't mind doing some extra stuff, some extra training or whatever. You know, I think training on weapons and getting proper handling and knowing stuff like that, I think that's a good thing. You know, not to the point where they're taxing you to death and making it so it's, you know, completely expensive or whatever. But, you know, going in and taking an 8-hour course or whatever to get your concealed carry or whatever works for you, that's
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
But, you
My
know,
husband just went through that actually this past weekend.
well, I mean, if they in Maryland, if they like open it up, I already told my wife I'm gonna, you know, I'm
Mhm.
gonna look into it, you know,
I
because
would.
why not?
I mean, that's one of the things that I've been discussing with my husband lately is I feel like with all of this acceleration of criminal activity, and then we obviously have probably some serious stuff. I haven't watched any of it right now, but I'm sure because of the Roe versus Wade overturn, there's going to be a lot of issues with that. And I feel like everybody needs to work on ways to protect themselves. And we do own these things, but I'm feeling a stronger need to go out and do more training and more practice with these things. And I know it's not cheap, and I know ammunition isn't cheap, and we all have budgets, but I feel like we're coming to a point where it's really critical and we need to be doing this.
Agreed.
I agree wholeheartedly. If you carry a concealed firearm and you don't train with it, do me a
Mhm.
favor and leave it in your lockbox.
Mhm.
The last thing we need is people who can't shoot toting around guns.
Right.
If you're gonna take on that responsibility, get some training. It's vital. It's absolutely vital.
Mhm.
I am a concealed carry permit holder here in New York, and where I live, luckily, it was easy to get. Everything here is dealt with by the sheriff's department. So, get training, guys. Get training, and be smart. Be smart. Know the laws. Have some money in the bank. That's for damn sure too.
Well,
Have
that's the
some
good
money in the
news.
bank.
Like you bring up a good point. My wife is actually from upstate New York, and upstate New York is vastly different from New York City. And I'm not sure exactly where you are, but where she is, you know, she is from the Norwich area. You know, up there, the sheriffs are great. You know, the culture is a lot more conservative and sympathetic to, you know, your rights and stuff. And it is easier in those areas to go and get, you know, the training or concealed carry or whatever it is you may need
Yep.
or want. And so that's the good news. And that's, you know, again, all this goes back to states' rights.
Mhm.
You know, as I was saying in my earlier videos, you know, California going to California and Alabama going to Alabama. You know, if you want to live in those states, you want to live in California, then go for it. You know, enjoy.
Yep.
You know, thankfully also like where you live and where I live in central Maryland, and it's a red state and a blue, or a red county and a blue state. And, you know, the sheriffs are great. I know some of them, and it's just, you know, it's, you can find your place, whatever. But when they come in with these big broad brushes and they're like, okay, everybody's gonna have to do this, and everybody's gonna have to do that, and, you know, it's just, it's not gonna work. Because what happens in what is good for central New York or central Maryland or central Colorado is not going to be the same in other places. And you have to kind of take things through, you know, the 10th Amendment, which they cited today with the RVW thing, is that, you know, it's a states' rights thing.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep. That's a big thing. It's a big thing. They don't. What I guess what they said was that if it wasn't popular at the time of the signing of the Constitution, it's not constitutionally protected, or something along those lines. I think maybe I got it wrong, Prepper. Now you'll have to
I've
correct me
never
there.
heard that. I'm now I'm intrigued.
Yeah, yeah,
Say that one
that
more.
was
All right,
something I read.
say that one more time.
If it wasn't popular when popular or significant at the time that the Constitution was signed, that it's not constitutionally protected. Right.
Oh,
I'm not
that's full of
sure how
crap.
that works.
That's BS.
Yeah.
It
You
does
Yeah.
know,
sound kind of like BS when you really break it
well, like Thomas Jefferson wanted to put in, you know, originally they had like 14 amendments in the Bill of Rights, and he wanted even more, I think. He wanted to make it so there was a legislative endpoint, in that when you pass a law, it has to come up for a like looking at or an analysis, and
Yep.
it expires. It's like an expiration date for all legislation.
Yeah.
I mean, you
That
want
would
to
have
talk
been.
about something I would love to have now. I mean,
Oh man.
I wish, gosh, I wish he had that.
Yeah. Big time. Big time. Everything has a beginning and an end. You know.
Well,
The
think about it, like
closest
how
thing
much
to
more
eternal life is a government-funded program.
how much more legislation do we need?
All of it.
You
Right.
know,
All of it. More taxes, more legislation. That's how they
yeah,
fix everything.
it's
Everything to
literally the
line their
point.
pocketbooks.
Yeah, I mean, and I tell this to my students. They built the system of our government to move slowly and glacially. It's not supposed to be quick. It's not supposed to be emotional. It's supposed to be well thought out, and it's supposed to. If you're going to pass something legislatively, it has to be done with a lot of process and a lot of different voices and consultation. And if it does happen to pass, then it is because it should have gone through a lot of these different checkpoints of whatever that may be. It's no, we're not supposed to legislate quickly, and so
Right.
that's one of the things I thought of when they passed this new, bill with the red flag laws, which they say, oh, it's not red flag. It opens the door for red flag.
Yeah.
That's the
Everything
problem.
that they do is a knee-jerk reaction. Nothing's
Absolutely,
thought out.
absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And I think really what we're seeing right now is we're just seeing such a huge divide when you see all these different things, that are making their way to the Supreme Court. It just seems like you're seeing a situation where you've got your constitutionalists and then you've got these other, radicalists out there. And it's just these two sides that are essentially at each other constantly. And when you look at this, you just wonder where it's headed and if there is going to be any coming back from it at some point.
Yeah. It's scary. It really is. And like I said, these are the things that keep me awake at night is trying to figure out, the what comes next, the end game for all of this and how we play into it, or if we play into it. So it's got my wheels turning, that's for sure.
People need to not give up any more ground. I mean, they just need to
Mhm.
say, all right, this is enough. You guys, like, we're good where we are right now. We don't need any more legislation. We don't need any more anything. Like, we're good. Like, just stop. Because what's going to happen is they're going to keep pushing this crap. Mike said, it just makes you crazy. If you're a logical mind and you look back at this thing from 1,000-foot view, it is illogical, and so it kind
Yeah,
of drives you crazy. And
it
so
does.
it just you'll see all this. It's like if they keep pushing it, what you will eventually see, I think, is a balkanization
I agree.
Yes.
of the country. You'll see the
Mhm.
southeast part ways. It'll go from Texas over to probably um, Florida, and then Georgia. I don't know what's going on with Georgia. Georgia is, I don't know, the Georgia. I can't explain Georgia. And I used to be a resident, but the Carolinas, I think, and then Tennessee and all that, and then the Mid Atlantic. It'll basically partition, and you'll get the western portion of Virginia, the western portion of Maryland, where I'm at, will join like West Virginia and Ohio, and western and central Pennsylvania and central New York, and this kind of like Appalachia or whatever. That's kind of what I see. I don't think if anybody's like thinks that we're going to devolve into a CW, I think they're giving people way too much. I think they think that people are a lot more motivated than they actually are. Most people are not that motivated. And what will happen is legislatively, like in my portion of Maryland, they already have put together papers and stuff to secede from
I think
Maryland
Texas
proper.
has again too, haven't they?
Yep.
Yep.
From what I
New
understand.
York's trying to split as well.
Yeah. California, they want to break it
California,
into
yeah.
4 different states.
I heard
You
that.
know, and this happens. This is all over the place. There's all kinds of little like secession movements. Now, of course, they make it really tough, and it won't happen. But I mean, that's what will start the ball rolling and be your it'll be like South Carolina during the civil CW. Number one is they just basically said we're seceding. We're done, and they were the first ones, and then the cascade started to happen and the dominoes started falling. So
Yeah.
I don't see CW where people are fighting against each other, but I definitely see a balkanization.
Well,
And I go ahead.
so my concern with that would be the resources for the states, and when things start getting really crummy for us. If we're to the point of balkanization, a lot has gone bad.
Oh
A
yeah,
lot. And we're kind of there now because, like you said, all these different places, there's legislators putting up papers to divide states into either
yep,
autonomous regions or separate states themselves.
yeah,
So we're already on that downslope. It's just a
yep.
matter of the nudge it's going to take to push us there now.
Well, and I think there's a lot of as I like to call them, the master class holes. I think that's what they want. I think
Yeah.
they want a weakened America, and they know that if they keep kind of, making us in conflict with each other, eventually that breaking up will happen, and we will regionalize and balkanize. And then at that point, they'll be like, all right, sweet, we can basically come in and do what we want with them because they won't be as strong put together. I mean, that's effectively what happened to the Soviet Union. All the little satellite states started breaking off, and they just basically, crumbled on Christmas Day 1991. And then a bunch of people made money, and they started to get all these desires with them. And here we are, 30 years later, and they're back together again, but it's a different thing.
Yeah, very interesting. So going back to the 2A stuff, I guess. So one of the other laws that they wanted to get passed that isn't going to make it through this time is that they want to ban assault rifles. So what are your guys' thoughts on that one?
It's already been done. It had an expiration date. The FBI statistics said it had no significant effect on violent crime. That's it.
No, you're absolutely correct. I debated it, and we had to reference that a lot. And we would go and get FBI government statistics, and I think it was 95 to 2005 or 96 to 2006. It's a 10-year,
Yeah, 10
it was a decade long, and it literally had no effect. And, if you look at what's going on, even right now in the last 2 years that have been very tumultuous, the statistics, things have gotten immeasurably better as it pertains to gun violence since the early 90s. And if you take out the large urban centers, gun violence is absolutely no problem whatsoever. And the only time it is happening is in your cities like Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit, wherever.
Same place they take those truckloads of guns, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, what a coinky dink. But I mean, that's the thing. And then they buffer their numbers there. But like where we are, I'm sure there's, not much happening as it pertains to homicide there. And I mean, there's not much here. And so it's just, it's all how you look at things. And the assault ban won't do anything. It'll basically just hinder law-abiding citizens. If you think for 1 second that some criminal is going to be like, okay, you know what, I can't have an AR-15. Yeah,
right.
BS.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys something about that too, because why do they continue to call them assault rifles? Because I was my understanding that AR actually stands for Armalite, because that's the company that first started making them. So they've given them this name over time, and it's not even a thing. Assault rifle is not a thing, and any weapon can be used to commit assault, right? So
correct. Assault is an action.
My fist could be an assault fist, or my foot could be an assault foot. I mean, in actuality, I was looking at Statista.com, and they said that the hands, fists, and feet cause 662 murders per year, and that the rifles are only 455 cases.
Yeah,
correct. And that's rifles of all types.
Right.
All types of rifles. So bolt action rifles, pump action rifles, single shot rifles, and modern sporting rifles. That's the real name for them, is a modern sporting rifle.
Yep. And all it is just basically a handgun or a rifle with a bunch of crap on it.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you look, I mean, suicides outweigh homicides as it pertains to gun deaths.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, do you think a person, if you take away guns, they're not going to take a bunch of pills or do something?
Grab a rope.
They do now, anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at you've got what, 340 million people in this country. If you look at the homicides as it pertains to guns, you're talking about maybe 25 to 30,000. That is 0.0001%. I'm horrible at math. Think about that. And it's everything. It's like everything. It's like, oh my God, we got to get a gun. It's like all we can talk about.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
it's like a 0.1% death rate, right?
Exactly.
Said, from what I found, said 6.5 per 100,000 people.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Which is just insane. And then if you look at, deaths by cancer, that's at 149.1 per 100,000.
Yeah. Let's talk about heart disease.
Yeah.
Really want to get into it? I mean, come on.
Well, the number one killer is medical mishaps. That's number one. There's like hundreds of thousands of people every year, where some doctor is, not watching what he's doing, and he slices open an artery and you bleed out on the table.
Yep.
So, but no. Let's just focus on AR-15s, and that's all we can think
That's
about.
right.
It's all we
That's
can,
right.
all we
And
can do in this
you know,
country.
you know why they focus on those? Because it's the one tool that we have that we could actually fight back with.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree.
And that's the whole point of the Second Amendment.
Yep.
It's the hunt. No, it's not the hunt. It's
Well,
so
that's
if the
why they
government
keep
ever gets tyrannical, you can defend
coming against
yourself.
high capacity magazines too, right? Because of that.
Yeah.
Well, see, they're redefining what high capacity magazine is. 30 rounds is what they consider a standard capacity magazine. Those come with every rifle, unless you live in a place like I live, where you can't have that.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and answer this one question, which is kind of the basis of this live stream. And I kind of know how you guys feel about it, but I'm going to ask anyway. So do you think that there is ever truly any good gun legislation?
I think that all gun legislation is an infringement if you want to take the Constitution as written, because there's that whole wow, that was interesting. Shall not be infringed. How about that?
Rock on.
Wow.
Well, to keep a free state, as they say,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, you can look up the Federalist Papers. It's not like this is some kind of a question. And first of all, in DC versus Heller in 2010, Scalia said, this is more than just like your right to hunt. This is your right to defend yourself in your home and against anyone that should want to kick down your door, or if the state goes rogue.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I mean, historically, I mean, I'll tell you, every place that gives up their weapons is places that are basically lining up to have massive amounts of problems from the government doing very nasty things that I've taught to many students over the years, from Mao to Adolf to Stalin. I mean, Pol Pot. You can go on and on and on. I had the pleasure of going to the S-21 prison in Cambodia, where Pol Pot had his killing fields, and I got to see the rooms, and I actually got to meet. I think his name was Chow Mei. He was a monk, and he was one of like 12 survivors of this place. It was a high school that was re-outfitted to basically become a killing machine to take all of the political dissidents. And it was communism. And if you had glasses, if you were intelligent, you were the first one, 86th. And this guy, I got through this, and I went, you should have seen these boxes. It was like 5 feet by 5 feet. You couldn't stretch out and sleep if you tried. And this guy and this whole thing, I mean, it was the first thing they did in Cambodia and Phnom Penh was take away everybody's weapons. And immediately after that, they started to do horrific things that, I mean, unspeakable. I went through this thing, and when I got done with it, I literally broke down. I will never unsee it. It is one of the most, and I think it's why I'm such a, I think it's one of the reasons why I'm such a proponent for keeping these things now, because I saw what can happen to a society after the communists come and take over and take your weapons and start to do what they do. And it is horrific and brutal as anyone could even, I bet most people can't even imagine it.
No. And don't want to imagine.
No, you don't. You don't want to. I mean, I saw mattresses. I saw things. I saw like stacks of skulls. I can't even tell you. And they left it like it was on purpose, so you would never, so they would never forget. I mean,
it sort of brings the Holocaust to mind or something to me with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what they do. They go and they try to take the weapons away, and they try to make it so you don't have the ability to defend yourself, because at that point they can do whatever the hell they want to you.
Yep.
Right. I guess like the basis for me bringing up that question in the first place is because I know there's some people that kind of ride the line on that, as far as some of the current legislation that we have in place with, age limits to kind of protect children. And then there are some that agree with, the restrictions that we've placed on felons. And I kind of wanted to get you guys' take on those sorts of things as well.
I think if you haven't committed a violent crime, there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to express your rights.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, if you've done something that is, been litigated, and you've been arrested and gone through your due process and convicted, then at that point you shouldn't have the ability to, you know, and even then, like if it's something like taxes or whatever,
Right, the
then
white collar crime, right?
yeah, if it's like something like that, then even that I think should have a different viewing than, say, if you have been a violent person and you went out and did unspeakable things, whether that's going in, you could make it so, you understand what's what, that assault is different than tax evasion.
Bro, yeah, I agree completely. I think we've kind of already covered this other question about how we can better protect the schools. I think that's one of the things that really has motivated them to try to go after all of this stuff in the first place. You kind of discussed the resource officers. I think one of the other things that they could consider, this is just something that I thought of, is just, I don't know why we can't use some bulletproof glass. Is that not a thing anymore? At least at the entrances, where they've got the glass doors and the exits. You probably wouldn't want them on all of the windows and things because then it's a fire hazard. But I feel like it's something that maybe we could consider.
Yeah, they spend billions of dollars in waste every year. They spend it
Exactly.
on the kids. Spend it on the
I
kids.
agree. And even if they don't want to do this, federally, I mean, obviously they've already allocated a bunch of money for some of this stuff, but it's all going to go to the mental health side. I would think that even if states were to go ahead and put some of this stuff up to be voted upon, that a lot of parents would gladly go ahead and pay extra to go ahead and get the bulletproof glass for their kids' schools.
I agree.
I mean, I know I would.
Yep.
You need trained officers. You can even make it a volunteer. You don't think some guy who's retired from the military, some former
Oh,
Marine,
yeah.
who's got time on his side, wouldn't go down on a Monday and a Tuesday to
I
sit
agree.
there and talk to the kids and be a presence. And should anything, heaven forbid, happen, that man or that woman would step up and do whatever they had to do to protect those kids. There's easy answers to all this. You don't need to go all this legislative crap and open the door to red flag laws. If you
No.
want to protect the kids, you do it the way that we did basically post 9/11 with the airports, and that's just put extra security. It doesn't have to be like a police state thing either. You can
No.
bring it in where you've got extra people and they are former military and they can go in and do double duty. And
Yep.
also, like I said, if they were to come and say, hey, we're having people that we want to see will sign up to become a first responder, and you'll have a lockbox and all that, you better believe I'd sign up. I'd be like, absolutely. What would I rather do? Would I rather sit there with a stapler and fight somebody off, or would I have everything I need in the closet where I can step up and protect those kids?
Mm-hmm.
Totally do that.
It's nice hearing your viewpoint on that because you are an educator,
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not. I mean, it's the kids will do dumb stuff. They will open the doors for people. Like my wife would come and drop off something. She was talking about this the other day because we are talking about this whole thing, and they just open the door for her. And I told them, I said, you can't do that. Like you have to, you gotta, I mean, I would go over to the door and open it up for her, but like I'd be like, guys, you don't know who she is. I know she's beautiful. She's my wife, but you you can't do that. But the kids will do that kind of stuff, and there are ways, and it's tough. Like they've been talking about that, where like maybe they should have it so it's like kind of compartmentalized in schools where you can get to one area and then you have to swipe into the next, but then that's a fire hazard.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I honestly think of everything that I've seen and heard, the best way to keep it so it's protected is to bring in former law enforcement and former military, and train teachers and have like a first response team. We've got a first response team for when like a fight breaks out. Why wouldn't we want to have that for an active shooter drill, or as some states they call them Alice drills,
Mhm.
So it just there's easy ways around this. I mean, think about what would happen in Texas if two teachers were able to put the plate carrier on and go and meet that kid in the hallway.
Yeah.
He'd be a freaking like set of bloody mashed potatoes on the floor under about 30 seconds.
Yeah,
So
Yep.
I agree. Excellent points. So I did have one last question that I wanted to ask, because this is something that I feel like has been brought up um, in the community. So there's some that believe it goes against the word of God for a Christian to defend themselves with a weapon based on the commandment, thou shalt not kill. So what would you say to those people?
Let's see. So the first thing that you do when a person comes for you with a firearm is, one, call for a police officer, and two, pray they get there in time. Or you can be the first responder yourself.
I agree.
So you're either praying for somebody to come and end this threat, or you're going to end it yourself.
And
Be
there's
your
a
own first
difference.
responder.
To me, as a Christian, there's a big difference between murder and self-defense. And I feel
What you're
like
looking at is pure evil. That's pure
yes,
evil
it
coming
is
at you.
pure evil.
Okay?
Exactly.
It's pure evil. That's not godlike.
Right.
It's
And
pure evil.
also think about it. I mean, you by stopping that demon, protecting other people.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're not instigating it, you're not initiating it.
No.
You're just doing whatever you can to protect yourself.
Exactly.
So
I'm not trying to justify anything for anybody. That's all on you.
No,
That's
I
solely
agree.
my
And one of the
opinion.
things that we're taught is to work out your own salvation, right? I mean, so that's another thing. And I feel like murder is where you're actively determining in your heart that you're going to take another life. So if you're taking revenge or you're going after somebody just because you've made them a target, but self-defense is where you're protecting your life or the lives of your family members because of that active threat. And I feel like that is established in the Bible. It is allowed. So,
well, there's different interpretations of the Bible too. I mean, if you want to
right,
interpret it that way, go for it. You know, I interpret it as that I've got the right to protect myself and my family.
right.
And anybody that would step up and to initiate such things are the kind of people that should not be walking amongst us. And if I have to be the one to
To
step
put
up
them
to
down,
protect my
then no.
family,
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
I
God
believe
help
I'll
them.
do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just kind of brought that up because I got attacked for that one. So
Well, here's another one. Well, here's another one for that. God forgives, right?
yes.
Amen.
So after you do that, if you were to ask for forgiveness, I mean, isn't that like the basis of Christianity?
I mean, I can't argue with that.
I mean, you know, if we
I
want
mean,
to,
and I can't, I mean, even if you want to look at it from a standpoint of, I mean, there's probably been plenty of Christians that have been in a situation where maybe a loved one was attacked or killed or raped, and they've had to go, they couldn't handle it, and they went after that person and took care of it. And I can't say how I would respond in that situation. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yep.
I
I'm not
mean,
saying
you
it's
know,
right or wrong or indifferent,
yeah,
but
I don't know.
everybody's got to work it out for themselves, I
When you
think.
bring that up and you say that, I think those people are just kind of trolling, to be honest with you. I don't think there's any kind of a logic behind that,
No.
you know, you just sit there and like, oh, please stab me, bro. Like, come on. Like,
Well,
that's,
they go to that aspect of, you know, turn the other cheek, and they take a lot of these things out of context, and then they want to use that, and they basically act like Christians are not supposed to have a backbone and we're all supposed to be doormats. And I don't believe that for 1 minute.
no.
Don't use anything in life as a crutch.
Right.
You know,
No,
just
no one should be
have
a
some
doormat.
convictions and try and be a good person. I mean, do the
Yeah.
best you can.
Absolutely. Yeah, no one should be a doormat, and you have a right to protect yourself. That's it.
Here's Rapture Ready. He says, defending yourself is not a sin, to be clear. I
Amen.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And you know what? There was actually a scripture that I had found that I wanted to bring up because of that. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It was in Exodus, actually, and it was in Exodus 22. And it said, if a thief is caught in the act of breaking into a house and is struck and killed in the process, the person who killed the thief is not guilty of murder. So, I mean, that kind of.
Yeah, I'd say you pretty much summed it up right there. You know, seriously.
Yeah.
You know, so
I mean,
yeah.
and then the other thing that we were told in Luke 22:36, this was Jesus speaking. He says, but now if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. So,
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's another 20 behind those.
probably.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, you know, again, I think whoever is saying that kind of stuff is just trying to either instigate conversation at best, and at worst just trolling. So, whatever. If they want to sit there, go for it. Good luck. You come
Yeah.
into my house,
Yeah.
I'm going to unload the clip on you.
I feel
if you're
sorry
trying to
for
hurt my
you if you
family.
come in this house.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's just, come on. It's whatever.
So I just wanted to open it up real quick to some questions. If you guys had any for the panel, just go ahead and put them in caps for us. I feel like we covered a lot, so I don't know if there are any questions or not. Give you guys a second. There's always a little bit of a delay there, huh?
Well, of course. I think I heard 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not
Typically.
everybody is Speedy Gonzalez at typing either, right?
Ain't that the truth? No, I'm still evolving into the digital world from my analog days. It's tough.
Right.
I'm so, like, I like big words. I say I'm such a Luddite, which is just a big fancy world of saying, like, I can't do anything like modern and new. When it comes to technology, like my videos and everything, like I think of people, like you guys, where you just turn the camera on and you talk, and like how much easier it would be, because I've got to like go in and render the video, and I'll like yesterday, for example, my phone has got 128 gigs and it was at like 126 full, to the point where it wouldn't function. And I
Yeah.
had to literally spend 4 hours yesterday, go in and be like, oh God, I got to get rid of that. I got to do this. I got to do that. And basically went in and did a bunch of stuff to like clean it out, and then wiped off like 50, gigs, because, people got to do that. But, the computer savvy will do that every probably month. Meanwhile, I just let my caches and all my apps and everything like fill up to the brim, and then I can't use my phone because I don't know what the hell, I'm so, I'm just not savvy at that. It's not my thing.
I did the same thing.
So Peaceful Monkey threw something up there. I don't know if you guys understand what he's getting at with this one, but he says limitations for having a gun. Is that just a statement or a question?
I don't think, like I said, unless you're convicted of a violent crime,
I agree.
I think you should be able to defend yourself.
I agree.
And I feel like even with the children aspect of it, why are they trying to come in and set age limits? I mean, isn't that up to the parent? What happened to our role in that? I mean, everybody knows their children, and they're going to know if they're, emotionally ready for something like that, or,
Everybody's different. Like, I know 18-year-olds that are more, mature than 50-year-olds.
Right.
True.
I mean, that's up to the parent, in my opinion. And I feel like they keep trying to take those situations away from us. They want to be the parent. We're not allowed to anymore.
The nanny state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's you can't. Everybody's different. You can't sit there and think that an age limit is going to solve anything.
No,
Right.
I agree.
It's not.
Sassy Gal has a question for us. She says, "Do you think concealed carry permits are another database?"
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I got to give my fingerprints to the FBI when I did my permit application. I mean, they keep those on file.
Any registration, anything where you're in a computer database, they take that, they keep it, and they collect it forever.
Yep.
We got one more on here. Do you think this weekend we should be concerned, or just the main areas? I keep being told all of our churches and places are at risk, but I can't tell if it's a distraction. I'm always cautious anyway.
I would definitely be in a heightened state of awareness this weekend.
Yeah.
They vowed a lot of vengeance, especially against the churches. So y'all keep your heads on a swivel when you're heading to church this weekend, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Which
maybe
is funny, because
have people stand at the door.
It had nothing to do with like the churches. It was like it was a 1911 law. It wasn't like
they want to attack God for this. I think that's literally what they wanted. They're mad and they want to throw something at God, and the only way to do it is to, burn a church or something, I guess.
Well, they feel like it's been abolished entirely, and that's not what's happened at all. And I'm so tired of hearing that too. It's like, you guys have misunderstood this entirely. Basically, it's just gone back to states. And so it's not that you're not going to be able to access this if you really want it. You might have to drive. I'm not going to lie to you about that, because you might be in a state that says no, but it doesn't mean that you still don't have that opportunity. If you still want to take that life, it's, still your choice.
America
in New York, nothing will change. Nothing
Right.
will change.
Nothing's going to change here in Colorado either.
And nothing is
I
going
can
to
tell you
change
that.
here in Maryland either. They said 24 states will ban it outright, and okay, but Dick's Sporting Goods will cash out $4,000 for you and help you get there and do it. If that's what you want to do, go for it. If I want it, I can stay here in Maryland. If someone over in West Virginia and it gets banned there, they can take the 22-minute drive, come on over, and I'm sure there'll be places right over the border.
Yep.
They're going to have, don't worry, you'll be able to take the child's life if you want to.
I did have a
progressive.
question for you guys, though. This is something that's kind of entered my mind about that. As far as them overturning Roe versus Wade now to where it's no longer federally mandated, what is going to happen to Planned Parenthood? Because aren't they actually funded through the federal government? I mean, that's just been one of my thoughts.
Yeah, that's just one of the many services that Planned Parenthood offers.
Yeah.
They do a lot for women's health, and they will still get funding for all the things that they do, and I'm sure they'll just funnel it to the states that do it from the states that don't. So
yeah,
I don't think like I said, the closest thing to eternal life is a federally funded program. That ain't never going away. They're just gonna keep sucking your tax dollars down. It's the truth.
Gosh, I'm going to use that. That is the truth.
Tell them where you found it, brother. Tell them where you found it.
I absolutely will.
What do you guys think about this statement? So this is coming from Uncle Al. He has a channel on Frog 79. He says, read the fine print of these laws. They take your kids and guns.
I believe it.
I mean, I think it could happen. I guess for me, I tried to, I don't know if any of you guys did this or not, but I accessed that 80-page bill that just went through, and I combed through it, and I didn't see anything in there like that. But, maybe it's hidden, and I'm not an attorney or a lawyer or anything, so maybe I'm not understanding what I'm reading. But I mean, that actually is a concern of mine, I don't know if you guys have experienced this in your states, but one of the things that happens is every year when I take my children in for their physical fitness, they will ask me this question in the doctor's office, and they say, do you own any firearms? And it's okay if you do, but do you keep them locked up? And I feel like that is an infringement on my rights as a parent. And it's like, why are you, if you're really concerned about children's safety, why are you only asking me about weapons? Why aren't you asking me then if all of my smoke detectors are in operable condition?
Are your medications in unreachable places?
Right. Do you have knives accessible to these children? Are you
lock up a cleaning supply
on your stovetop? Like, those are all valid questions. And so for them to focus in on that one, I feel like you are essentially entering another database by answering that question. So
it's a backdoor through HIPAA, just to basically put it onto your file so they can add that to whatever kind of a dossier they have on you. So
I concur.
Yeah, it's totally what it is.
Okay, well that's all I've got, guys. I don't see any other. Do you guys see any other questions? I don't see anything else popping up.
No, I got to keep popping back and forth between the chat and the
right.
My tripod here just keeps spitting my phone out, apparently, which is pretty cool tonight. That's a new trick it just started doing tonight.
That's pretty cool.
It's saying end the damn stream already, right?
No, it's an eject, but it's okay. It's okay. No worries. I'm enjoying it. It's a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, I don't see any other questions on here. Did you guys have anything else that you wanted to add before we end?
Shall not be infringed.
Excellent.
And no more giving up of our rights in any kind of a way, whatever that may be, whether it's First Amendment, Second, 10th, whatever. Just no more.
Great.
Amen.
Well, thank you both for joining me tonight. I've really enjoyed having you on, and I know everybody here has enjoyed you as well. And thank you to everybody in chat for showing up and for giving us that support, because we wouldn't have anybody to really talk to without you guys out there supporting us. So we greatly appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening and a great weekend. And, be extra vigilant this weekend. Just be careful. Watch those larger crowds. So have a great one, guys, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, everyone.